talk about the international horse community. You have judged in maybe a dozen countries, just all over the world.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to go and judge in lots of different parts of the world and do clinics. Usually when you go, you'll do a clinic and whatnot, so you get to go and meet all these new people and see what they're doing and they're using the same quarter horse that we are, you know, because the quarter horse has just kind of exploded and gone all over the world. And so you go and you meet these people and get to see how their lifestyle is compared to ours. And then again, like I say, for the book, you know, they have the same problems that we have, and so you try to fit them all together in this.
Does the German horse community have a special place in your heart?
The German Quarter Horse Association really does, because, you know, I was just very fortunate in that Suzanne Jones from Tatum, New Mexico, she's deceased now, but she was a mentor to so many of us. And she had friends in Germany that had come over to her place to learn to ride and whatnot. And then as their kids began to grow, they wanted to see some of the things that were happening here. And so Catherine Dyer-Supting, she wanted to know about the 4-H horse school that we had created here. And so she brought her son over to go to that. And then so Mrs. Jones and Uli Vai, who was the German quarter horse director for their AQHA director, they got together and started thinking about putting together an international horsemanship school. And Suzanne calls me and says, you know, we need to do this. And so anyway, we got together and started working on it and went to Germany. The AQHA wanted to do it, and they were planning to do it, but they didn't want to work as quick as Suzanne did. So we went on our own the first year and did this. And then after that, AQHA started the International Horsemanship Schools. And then we continued for another 20 years with the German Quarter Horse Association doing schools as the New Mexico group. And so I get excited today when I see these people from Germany that are, you know, that we've coached and all and introduced to horses and see them riding and whatnot, realizing that we had a little part in their being able to do all of this.
I can't imagine how special that is, being the person to really introduce someone to horses, especially for the first time. What do you love about that, like getting the opportunity to share your love and your passion?
Well, you know, in Luke, there's a verse that says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I feel like I've been given a lot, and so I need to share it with other people.
Will you tell me about your unexpected trip to Japan?
Yeah, well, Josh was supposed to go to Japan and do a clinic, and he had an appendicitis. And so he texted him in Japan that night and says, you know, I have appendicitis, and we can do one of three things. We can cancel the clinic, we can postpone it, or I'll send my dad. And this was back before 9/11, and you know, we had the same name, so I could just take his ticket and go. And so they text back and said, send your dad. So this was at about 10 o'clock Sunday night, and 7 o'clock Monday morning, I was on the plane heading to Japan. And while I was on the plane, I called my department head and arranged, you know, for classes that night or that morning. And so I called the Dean of Agriculture, Dr. John Owens, from the plane. You know, I was in the back of the plane and talking with him, telling him what I was doing, how I had all my classes covered and whatnot. And the thing that he was most excited about was he had never talked to anybody that was on an airplane. But anyway, while we were going to do that, I wanted to talk with Dr. Owens about getting a scholarship for one of the boys for the rodeo team, which we didn't have scholarships at that time. And he gave me a full ride scholarship for Trey Miller to come over, and I promised him that Trey would be a world champion, and he did get to be the reserve world champion team roper at the college national finals. So it was an exciting time.
Did those things happen at the same time, like while you were going to Japan?
Yeah, while I was going to Japan. And then when landed in Japan, you know, didn't know anybody, and had this one guy that spoke English. Most of the people didn't speak English. And over there they had horse camps, basically. You know, they had the Rio Grande camp and the Laredo camp, and there'd be about a dozen riders that kept their horses displaced and they'd ride. And so that's what we were doing there. And then in the afternoon, after they'd ridden, we'd go into this room and they'd all smoke cigarettes all day, and you'd just sit there and kind of grin when you heard your name mentioned, you know. And fortunately, for some reason, the cigarettes, I don't know what they were smoking, but it didn't make you as sick as it would normally would. But they were great people, and we had a great time.
Are horse lovers the same all over the world?
Pretty much, yeah. We always say, you know, that with horse people, they always have a lot of enthusiasm. Sometimes you need to bridle it, but they're all enthusiastic.